Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I review movies and today's film is If. It's a family-friendly comedy about a young girl entering the world of imaginary friends. B, a teenage girl whose father is sick, wakes up one day and can see the imaginary friends left behind by kids that grew up. John Krasinski wrote and directed the film, which he also stars in alongside Cailey Fleming, Ryan Reynolds, and Fiona Shaw. The film also features a plethora of famous actors voicing the imaginary friends such as Steve Carell, Louis Gossett Jr., and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Okay, to start off, this film features a simple and straightforward story with a lot of emotion. It's about a little girl who needs a distraction while going through a tough time. And poof, magical friends appear to take her on a journey. She gets to do some wacky and fun things while Ryan Reynolds plays her comedy partner. He runs around trying to keep everything held together and fails miserably, which causes a bit of laughter. The characters are all a little bit shallow in terms of what we learn about them, but they're fun characters that work well for the story. They're easy to root for and to identify with. There's also some big emotions toward the end of the film that are quite moving. For children, the film will be funny with a lot of silly humor thrown around. For adults, there is a lot less to enjoy, and at times it may feel overly childish, but there is still a decent amount of humor targeted toward you. Enough to get you through at least. The story moves at a refreshing pace and doesn't get bogged down anywhere for too long. Its cast also does a great job with what they're given. The human characters are all playing normal people with a slightly exaggerated personality trait, i.e. the dad is a clown and the grandma's a bit airheaded. They all get to do at least one big emotional moment and nail them. Even a few of the extras got big emotional moments and it was nice to see. The voice acting was also fairly competent across the board. Steve Carell gets to do his usual wacky guy character. He's pretty funny and energetic while also still being able to do heartfelt moments well. Gossett Jr. and Waller-Bridge also got to do a big moment each and did them wonderfully. The visual journey is excellently filmed and designed. They have a ton of great costume work and set design, clean and crisp cinematography with a lot of interesting angles and good movement, and the animation work is fantastic. They have different imaginary friends that are both hilarious and somewhat terrifying to look at, like the slime monster or the old fat cat with the comically large head. They also go briefly into the world of imaginary friends where anything is possible and the landscapes change drastically. The film is quite creative in how it depicts the imaginary friends, and I found myself being reminded a lot of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Sound-wise, the film makes use of a complex soundtrack consisting of both original songs and scored instrumentals. They use music to build the atmosphere, to follow the emotional journey, and to add a bit of flavor to the characters and environment. The scored instrumentals do a fantastic job and draw out every last bit of happiness and sadness from the story. They make every moment feel a bit magical, and every part of the journey becomes a fun and exciting event because of it. They're a bit generic, but work very well with the story. The original songs were light and entertaining, but didn't add as much as the scored tracks. Which brings me to the film's negatives. The soundtrack, while entertaining and effective, wasn't memorable in any way. The scored tracks were good at drawing out emotion, but they were very simple tracks that you've probably heard something similar to 1,000 times. The original tracks just weren't used well enough to be memorable. They were fun, but that was about it. The story also isn't entirely coherent in what it's trying to do. It wants to be about a girl trying to distract herself from her real-world problems, but they never quite make her problems feel real. Her dad never looks sick. He's always joking around, and they don't actually say what's wrong with him, just that he's having some kind of heart surgery. I know it's a kid's film, and we don't want to scare anyone, but having a little bit of drama is just good writing and way more entertaining. Also, not having that danger took a lot of punch out of the big emotional moments. You have actors pouring their hearts out, and the audience isn't really sure why. They also try to do a bit too much with the imaginary friends. They run around constantly changing objectives and introducing new characters, and while it's fun, it ends up feeling a little bit shallow as well. The cast also feels a bit restrained in what they're doing. The dialogue is very simple back and forth with a few emotions thrown in on the side. The characters are a bit one note, so everyone gets to do one or two flavors, and that's about it. Even the big emotional moments are limited to one per person. It's like they intentionally didn't want anyone but the kid to stand out, and the child character isn't interesting enough to really stand out. They don't even let her address her emotions properly until near the end of the film. Personally, I didn't mind this film. It was light and somewhat enjoyable. The visuals were really well done, and the soundtrack knew what to do most of the time. For me, it's just missing that little bit extra in the writing that makes you really identify with the characters in the story. If you're in the mood for something light and you have kids, this is a decent family watch. For adults on their own, there isn't much here. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 6 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye.